I have some disturbing stats I want to share with you about fatherless homes. And by the way, some of the stats, I've seen this before. I'm going to tell you, when you read some of these stats, you're going to sit there and say, that is insane. The U.S. has the highest rate of children living in a single-parent household of any nation in the world.
When you factor these things in, I mean, he's just literally named off every single societal collapse or potential collapse right there. I think the hardest part about becoming a stable parent, solid parent, is becoming a solid
Ruslan.
That's the homie. Shout out to Patrick Bet-David. If you guys haven't seen my interview with Patrick Bet-David, you should go watch it. We have a full-length conversation where we talk about everything. We talk about his alleged MLM scam. I say alleged. We talk about his entire view of Jesus and God and coming to faith. We talk about a lot about content. It's actually a really cool conversation. I'm sure I'm sitting down with him eventually.
Intro this.
This is a video about the fatherless crisis in America. I think it is fair to argue that all of our social ills come down to primarily one single issue, and that is fatherlessness. And he's going to break it down, I think, very eloquently here. And I want you guys just to be open to this, because how you process this should allow you to hopefully not make the same mistakes that the fathers before us have made and actually right some of those wrongs, okay? And I think we all can do that collectively, specifically us men.
I have some disturbing stats I want to share with you about fatherless homes. And by the way, some of the stats, I've seen this before. I'm going to tell you, when you read some of these stats, you're going to sit there and say, that is insane. By the way, these stats are from 2021 of the impact a father makes in a child upbringing, both a girl and a boy. Like I said, disturbing, but you will be shell-shocked with the stats. The U.S. has the highest rate of children living in a single-parent household of any nation in the world.
That's a hell.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. That's crazy. Seriously.
About 80% of single-parent homes are led by single mothers, at a rate of 23% of children living with one parent and no other adult. The United States stands over 3 times the world average of 7% of children raised by one parent. For reference, the number stands at 3% in China, 4% in India.
That's crazy that those are very different countries, and we beat them all on this.
Yeah, yeah.
We beat them all on this, man.
This is not an area we want to be competing with other countries, by the way. If there is a statistic to not be competing in, this is one of the statistics. China's at 3, India's at 4, the world's at 7. We're at 23% in America. Zero bragging rights. This is the stat everybody wants to hide. And this is the stats where the side effects of this, we ain't going to see for 2 decades or 3 decades or longer. Takes a while to see the side effects. Let me continue. Even for children with a father present in the home, the average school-age boy only spends about 30 minutes per week with one-on-one conversations with his father. For comparison...
Pause that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
For real?
30 minutes a week, fam? Me and Levi do a minimal of 30 minutes a day, and that's like minimal. That's mornings, that's evenings, that's video games, that's basketball practice.
Car rides.
Car rides. That, like yesterday, we just went to Lowe's, just me and him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? No devices, just talking. Like, that's crazy, man. Right.
Same boy, on average, will spend about 44 hours a week watching television, playing video games, and surfing the internet. In our house...
Who's raising your kids?
Oof.
Who's raising your kids? If your dad and the average is 30 minutes, and they're spending, how many said, 40 hours?
Your kid's already got a full-time job, and he's underage.
That's wild.
There is no video games throughout the week. It's on the weekends. After you read 150 pages throughout the week, then you have the right to play video games for an hour or 2 on the weekend, and that's what you have to earn. You have to move your body, you have to exercise. There's certain things you need to do to get to that point. That's our household, but the stat tells you 44 hours a week of watching TV, playing video games, and surfing the internet.
We do no devices until 3 o'clock.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was like, that's really... I
no
grew
screens, no devices until 3.
I grew up not that. But I was more self-regulated. Like I wasn't that intense where I needed to be regulated. But at the same time, I had friends that were like, you get an hour on the weekend of video games. And I was like, y'all losers, son.
I don't even think video games are that big of a deal if you're doing it as a family activity. Like we'll play Mario Kart as a family, like me, my wife, my son.
I would play video games with my brother a lot, and then we would have friends that would come over and we'd play video games. Like we didn't really play, just like sit there by ourselves and play games.
Yeah, go ahead.
90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of teen suicides, 85% of children and teens with behavior disorders come from fatherless homes. Let me read that stat to you one more time. 90% of all homeless and runaway children.
That's crazy.
63% of all teen suicide. 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorder come from fatherless homes. That is a very, very big number. Next, fatherlessness likewise has a direct link to teen pregnancy and sexual activity. Roughly 70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in a fatherless home. 70%
Wow.
of teenage pregnancies comes from fatherless homes. 70%. That's a big number. And these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both a father and a mother.
There it is. Oops. There it is. When you factor these things in, I mean, he's just literally named off every single societal collapse or potential collapse right there. Behavior issues, homelessness, abortion, right? These are all the things that are causing mass tension in our society.
It's a fact.
We want to say that it's all outside in. It's all the system. It's the system and the tension of this. Like, the system is going to be what the system is. System is going to be bad for middle class people, good for middle class people. Hard to buy a house, easy to buy a house. That's neither here nor there. But the internal, the inside out, who you are in your home to the rest of society, that's stuff we could control, man.
Fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior than children from two-parent household. 20 times more, okay? 20 times more. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chances as children raised by just their father. You may already be blown away by the stats before, so maybe come back and let me read this to you and brace for impact if you missed it. Let me read it one more time. Listen, just stay with me. Don't get distracted. Stay with me. Listen. If a man and a wife raise a child, they're less likely to end up in jail, but they have the same chance as children raised by just their fathers.
That's crazy.
Moms are sending kids to jail.
That's kind of wild, man. That's how impactful the role of the father is on the house.
Hey, you want to see something crazy? 67% of the people who watch this channel are not subscribed. Do me a quick favor, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you stay up to date on all the videos here on the Blessed God Studios channel.
You know what I mean? That just a father is oftentimes can be like an active, engaged father.
Yeah.
Can be just as impactful as a mother and father. Uh-oh.
Some hot water there.
Uh-oh. Keep going.
Husband and wife raise their kid. The chance of this kid going to jail is the same as just the father raising his kids. The problem is the single mother without a father in the picture that can sit there and discipline the kids, give them hope, values, principles, all the other stuff. We play different roles. This is statistic. If somebody's watching and saying, oh my God, you're discounting women, you're discounting mothers, go get upset at the stats, not at me. You can't get upset at 3 times 3 is 9. That's stats. I'm giving you stats that's being given to us by the government because they have access to these stats. This is disturbing. Let me continue. Girls with no fathers have lower self-esteem. We can lower crime, lower mental issues, help the economy, lower suicide rates, and decrease homelessness by bringing back the family nucleus. There are things that my wife can do as a mother that I can't do. There's things she can bring that I can't bring, but there are things I can do that she can't do. So now you may say, well, Pat, I agree. I do agree. We can lower this. But then how come it's not happening? And here's the other question. Who's to blame? Who do we blame with this? Now, you may be listening to this saying, well, it's got to be the husband and wife's fault. It's got to be the man and the woman's fault. Fine. How come it's not the same ratios around the world? Why is U.S. fatherlessness at 23%? Everywhere else is 7% average.
Jeez.
So is it really the mom and dad? So how about the mom and dad in India? How about the mom and dad in China? How about the mom and dad in Germany? How about the mom and dad in Brazil? How about the mom and dad in other places? Why are we at 23%? How did this happen? Was it like this before? Is it an evolution? Is it mainstream media? Is it Hollywood? Is it the fact that parents are afraid of parenting because everybody is so much involved? You can't do that to your kid. You can't do this to your kid. You can't discipline your kid like that. Whose fault is it? It's someone's fault. Is it the fact that, hey, we can't really bring church and schools and pray and all this stuff? I don't know. Maybe that's not something you agree with. Maybe it is. Maybe we need those values and principles. But it's somebody's fault in America that this is happening. This is purely a systemic issue that we're having. This cannot be like no, it's really the community, it's the parents, it's the culture, it's all this other stuff. No, standards are standards. We're sitting there not educating. No, it's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. Oh, it's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. Oh, it's not a big deal. Go ahead and do that. No, standards have dropped and the numbers are showing. If we judged a country based on how many kids are being raised by fatherless homes that's producing crimes at the levels that we're getting, sex during teenage pregnancy, abortion, suicide, incarceration. Maybe we ought to look at this. Maybe this is very important. Maybe our educational system sucks. Maybe. Kids spend more time around teachers than they do around their parents. Maybe. Who do we blame? The responsibility has to lie on the nation. Maybe we're either too much involved or we're not selling. Take your time to get married. Take your time before you have sex with someone. Take your time before you get pregnant. Take your time before you have a baby. Protect yourself. Stay home. Do not just go out there and have unprotected. Maybe we're not talking about this kind of stuff.
Come on.
Maybe we are, maybe we're not. The stat says we're not selling it in the right way.
Come on.
And we're paying a price for it. If you're in a community that crime is high, hello, you're feeling it. So the next time you see a father that takes their job as a father seriously, you can actually say, you know how we see somebody in military uniform? Guess what you say? Hey, thank you for your service.
Thank you for
What do
your
mean?
service.
Hey, man. Stats, 23% fatherlessness.
Yeah.
And you're there with your kids. Thank you for your service. Being a father is tough. Good for you guys, husband and wife, trying to make this work. Marriage is tough. Salute.
There's a lot of pushback on TikTok about fathers being congratulated for doing the bare minimum and mothers just being like, oh, that's a mother thing. But if a dad's like holding a baby, they're like, wow, you're holding a baby through a grocery store. You're such a good dad. So it is interesting because now he's like saying we should go above and beyond and say thank you for your service.
Thank
like
you for your service.
Like they sacrificed their life
Like
to just
they're a veteran.
Yeah, to fulfill the responsibility that they started.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
So there's a happy medium. It's not all like say thank you for your service to every dad for doing his freaking job. You know, because they're gonna shred us for that. Like that, like TikTok's gonna come for like the people that are actually standing up for father values.
So what I find interesting, I think the hardest part about becoming a stable parent, solid parent, is becoming a solid person, a competent, stable, financially stable person. If there was more stable people who can provide for themselves, provide for their family, know how to give, receive love, how to communicate, I think that becomes the on-ramp of whether someone is going to be a good parent or not. And if you don't have that, right, because there are people who come from great families that don't have that. There are people that come from bad families that don't have that. They don't know how to function as a normal person. And so I think my heart is always, how do we get people to become stable, functioning people? You know, how do we become stable, functioning people? Because you can't blame it on the device. You know what I mean? Patrick has an iPhone. He uses device. We all use devices.
Yeah.
It's not the device's fault. It's not technology's fault. I think this is just my opinion. You can push back if you want to. I think people, and the church is bad at this too. Christians online don't know what it requires and don't have a realistic gauge of what it requires to create a stable, functional home in 2023 and beyond. I think they don't know.
Hey, this clip is from our daily after party stream. If you enjoyed it, consider signing up for our Patreon community for only $5 a month, where you get access to the replays of our daily after party streams, as well as the uncut extended versions of our podcast, Discord access that's private, and a discount code for our merch store, only $5 a month. And ultimately, it's the best way to help us contextualize the gospel of Jesus using media, podcasting, and of course, YouTube. The link for that is in the description or in the pinned comment. The perks are amazing. You should get on there. It's only $5 a month. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.